Okay, so my name is Jason Boone, and I have a YouTube channel called Boone Loves Video, where I teach how to use Adobe After Effects, really how to create map animations using Adobe After Effects and a premium plugin that we've been talking about called GeoLayers. I also do a lot of freelance map animations for a really wide variety of clients, and I've kind of fallen into doing consultation work as well, because people that want to learn, that want to get into map animations and learn GeoLayers specifically, the learning curve is quite steep. So you have to learn After Effects and have After Effects in the first place and kind of be an intermediate user. And then learning GeoLayers is actually quite a hurdle as well. So I also do hourly consultation sessions, because a lot of people have been asking about it, where they want to find out how to do something very specific, but they don't want to have to worry about learning the entire program, because it's an extremely powerful tool and you can do a lot with it. So what I want to do is I want to tell you how I got here, because as everyone has said, I don't have a background in cartography or geography or GIS. My background really started, I started out in TV production. That's what I studied at university. And basically straight out of university, I got a job in Florida in the States at a PBS affiliate TV station. And I was working as a video production specialist. And what that means is you just do everything in television production. I would basically light and build sets, work as a camera operator on live shoots, do technical direction work. But 50% of my job was really post-production. And that consisted of using Adobe Creative Suite, specifically Premiere Pro and Adobe After Effects, to edit our content and then create motion graphics and animations. And I worked at that TV station for about 8 years. And basically, they gave me quite a bit of training in Adobe After Effects, and I just fell in love with this program. And that was my favorite part of the job. So after 8 years of working there, I ended up quitting and I went freelance, and I started teaching, doing like online instruction on how to use both Premiere Pro and After Effects. And that kind of what that consisted of was writing blog entries and creating video tutorials for a number of online publications like Shutterstock, Premium Beat. I do some work for Adobe, Frame.io. And so what happened was, and I started my own YouTube channel right around the same time, which focused on the same thing, teaching Adobe Premiere Pro and teaching Adobe After Effects. So what happened after a few years of doing this, slowly building my channel, getting more clients. And what happened was I started to see all these comments popping up like, hey, what's with the maps? What's with the cartography theme all the time? And I never noticed it, but anytime I was teaching animation techniques, I would always use maps. So for example, if I was teaching like how to keyframe, I would show like how you can keyframe an airplane flying over a flat map. Or if I'm teaching like a looping technique, I would show you how to loop a map marker infinitely. Or morphing techniques, I would show you how to morph a country border into another border. So it really made me reflect and see that, oh yeah, I guess I'm a bit of a map nerd, like more than the average person. And so I'm this map nerd that's an After Effects instructor expert. And one day I'm on Twitter. This is like into 2018. One day I'm on Twitter. I see this beautiful map animation. And right away, I see that it is clearly Google Earth. But what was so unique and striking about it, and what caught my attention was that there was really amazing motion graphics, perfectly composited into this map. And I was super curious how they did it, because I was like, man, I would love to be able to do that. And then I saw the hashtag Adobe After Effects. And so I immediately was intrigued. I did some research on it, and I found out that it was created using this new program at the time called Google Earth Studio. So I researched Google Earth Studio, and let me just switch to a screen here that I can show you. So I start to look into this Google Earth Studio program, and I think in 2018, it was kind of just hitting the scene. And essentially what this is it allows you to animate Google Earth, keyframe all these different parameters, and then export it as an image sequence or a video file. And what was so great about it is they designed it specifically around Adobe After Effects. So they took Adobe After Effects as like their blueprint. And not only that, but it works in conjunction with Adobe After Effects. So if you look here, this is a tutorial I did a little while ago. You can set these track points in different parts. Well, you can set a camera target, but you can also set track points, and then you could export this data, bring it into Adobe After Effects, and use that to comp in motion graphics. So here I'm doing this example of the Skid Row animation. So this comes out in 2018, and I jump all over it. I read all the documentation. I create a really in-depth tutorial about how to work with Adobe, or how to work with Google Earth Studio to Adobe After Effects. And my channel around the time was slowly growing. It probably had between like 5,000 and 10,000 subscribers. And I released this video, and it goes pretty viral. I mean, relative to my channel, I'm getting like 3,000 views an hour, and I'm like watching my channel grow really fast. And then it was crazy after that to see the weeks and months following that, this waterfall of people contacting me, like all different types of people from all different career fields, wanting to hire me to make map animations, wanting me to teach them how to use the programs, wanting to teach them how to use Adobe After Effects. So clearly I was like, wow, there's definitely a market for this. And so the following year after this, I get, I'm responding to all these messages. People are asking me, how do you, like, what are the alternatives? Because Google Earth has all these licensing issues. What if I want to broadcast it? What if I want to monetize my YouTube video? What do I do? So I'm loving all the cartography related stuff. So I start researching all the alternatives to Google Earth Studio. So I discovered GeoLayers, and I discovered basically all the other tools that are available in Adobe After Effects. Sorry to stop here. And basically, it was just incredible, the response. And it was so, I mean, I even had the product manager of Google Earth Studio reach out to me, and he's like, hey, let's set up a call. I want to hear it, which was crazy. So I set up a call. I get to talk to the engineers over at Google, and they're like, hey, what should we add to Google Earth Studio? I'm like, you're Google. Why are you asking me? So it was incredible. But I said, oh, you make the opacity keyframeable on the KMLs, yada, yada. And they actually changed some of these things that I requested. So it was really incredible, this response. And let me switch this back here. So within the 2 years after this, I'm now, at this point, I'm answering all these questions about map animations, getting freelance jobs here and there to create maps using GeoLayers. I'm learning GeoLayers, becoming this GeoLayers expert. And before I know it, I'm like loving it, and I'm just learning everything. And before I know it, I'm like the map expert. I've noticed people leaving comments like, he's the map king, he's the map guy, the After Effects map guy. So, I'm 2 years goes by, 2020 into 2020, and I told myself, okay, for 2021, I'm going to set a goal. I want to be the map guy. I want to be a professional map animator, and I want my 95% of my tutorials are going to be cartography related, map related. And I want to create just map animations that I can share on my socials, with the goal of seeing how much freelance I could get. So that's what I did. And it was, again, it was an avalanche of just offers. As soon as I put myself out there a little bit and started teaching these techniques about maps, it was incredible, the response. And it was just immediately a point where I could say no, and I could hand pick the most interesting jobs that I had time for. So right off the bat, I got one of my first gigs was this job for a real estate client, and they wanted me to create. So this is created using Adobe After Effects and GeoLayers, and they wanted to show the various communities, the various areas where they had developments. So we created this map of Atlanta, which is flying around. We have our little inset map with the pinging map marker flying between these communities. I mean, we created all these call outs, and designed it around their brand style here. GeoLayers has a partnership with MapTyler, and MapTyler has a lot of tools built into the program. So we were able to design it using some of those tools. I'm going to fast forward here. And what this map was for was, in their building, I guess Empire's HQ, they had this interactive kiosk, and this map would play. Let me fast forward here. And then at the end, it kind of zooms out here. So it zooms out here, and then we just have it kind of sit on this still frame, And then on the kiosk, the user can click on these, and then there's like infographics that pop up, and that's all on their side that they created that. So this was my first really professional gig. And then after that, it was just I thought, I initially went into this as like the layperson. I was like, okay, this is pretty niche, like map animations, I don't know if I'm going to pigeonhole myself and not get a lot of work. And then I realized that you can create map animations for real estate, for military, for park service, I discovered this whole world, which was just incredible. It was like I rode this wave of popularity of map animations. And now I feel like I'm in a position where I'm trying to educate myself more about like how to use like the proper GIS terminology and like all the different things that I feel like I should know as being a professional map animator. But let me tell you about one other really cool job that I got that's kind of, looking at my notes here. So Paul was talking about Vox before. I was also a big fan of Vox, and I basically wanted a job at Vox. That was one of my goals. So what I did was I didn't stalk, but I was targeting their producers. I found their producers and their animators, started hitting them up, making animations, sending it to them and being like, look, check out my maps. Like, give me a job. Look what I can do. I know geolayers. And then I started to get their attention. I started making tutorials like how to make animations like Vox, how to make maps like Vox. And I ended up getting on their freelancer list, but they never gave me a job. But what happened was I had made a joke in one of the, I think, how to make maps like Vox. I made this joke. I said, here's how you can make super dope map animations. But sadly, I can't get that Johnny Harris level hair. I made a joke about Johnny Harris's hair. He's a journalist that used to work at Vox, who's now a big time YouTuber journalist. And this guy reaches out to me and he's like, hey, that's hilarious. I saw your joke about Johnny Harris. I actually work for Johnny Harris and I create maps for Johnny Harris. And I just want to say hello and that I use your tutorials a lot and it's very helpful. And then another few weeks goes by and then he offers me a job. He said, hey, we're bumping up our amount of videos that we're putting out and we need freelancers. So do you want to make maps for Johnny Harris? And I was like, oh, okay, that's better than Vox. Great. So now I'm a freelancer for Johnny Harris, which the majority of these maps that you're seeing here were created for different documentaries for Johnny. Let me show you. So we did a lot of Russia visualizations where we're showing like troop clusters moving through different parts. And we did a lot of like visualizing the NATO countries and showing the movement of just a lot of like visuals showing movement. And a crazy thing happened with this. Zelensky, one of the producers, shared it with me later. Like Zelensky shared a few of these maps on his Instagram or something. He was sharing them and posting them on his socials, which was pretty wild. And let me show you another quick visualization. Well, this is the first job I got for Johnny. Was he wanted me to map all of the volcanoes. This is, I think, a rough animation, but we took some data sets into GeoLayers and created this spinning globe of all the volcanoes. And then we ended up, I think he hired me to do probably 10 or 15 map animations for that piece. And we did a lot of Google Earth flyovers where we were putting titles of specific volcanoes in. And I think if you want to check this video out, it's called Why Indonesia is Always Erupting, specifically about Indonesia. Really quick, I'll show you one other thing. There's another YouTuber named Ava Zubek. She's become a pretty well-known travel vlogger and travel host. And this was a project where she was doing this really huge marathon called the Peaks of the Balkans. And I guess it's like a five-day marathon. So she wore her Garmin watch. And this is just an animation where she sent me her GPX files, I think. And then I was able to pull the elevation data. You can see on the top left here, we have the little elevation thing animating. That jogger is just a little GIF sticker that I pulled to use. And then we animated the text to show both the imperial and the metric of the elevation changes. And then she actually hired me we created the individual days and routes of these, which was quite an interesting job. We put a little glow on the route. And GeoLayers, if you use it in conjunction with a few other plugins, you can actually get little 3D terrain look here. So this is, I just wanted to tell the story of how I got here, because it was amazing to me to see the explosion of interest in map animations, just from my perspective, and it's still that way. I have a Patreon page, and when I set up my Patreon page, I thought, oh, this is an experiment. I don't think it's, we'll see what happens. And I even created a tier. I created a tier that's like, I'll give you an hour session every month if you want to talk geolayers with me, and it sold out like immediately. So there's a lot of people out there that are learning this application and that are finding it, struggling with it. So it just speaks to that there aren't a whole lot of alternative tools. That's why I was super interested to see the Mapcreator tools. So yeah, it's just it's very interesting where it is right now, and I'm interested to see where more of the alternative kind of programs pop up and are offered for the newbies, people who don't even know Adobe After Effects. So yeah, it's just a very interesting time, and we'll see where it goes.